Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. I'm bringing you our newest edition of Hidden Figures, and today's hidden figure is Ruth Carol Taylor, who was the first Black flight attendant in America. And as the very first African-American airline flight attendant, she really broke a barrier and also was part of a lot of the actions that were taking place kind of leading up to the civil rights movement here in the U.S. of Black people saying, like, we're not putting up with this shit anymore, we're not putting up with this shit anymore, we're not putting up with this anymore. A lot of the ways that we think about the civil rights era, the civil rights movement, because of the way that we're taught it in school, is just like, 1965 came and Martin Luther King woke up and he had a dream and then everything was fine. But it's like there was a build up, like you have to get the momentum going, you have to get the ball rolling, before, Claudette Colvin, who who sat down, before Rosa Parks, stuff like that. So Ruth Carol Taylor, journalist and nurse, Ruth Carol Taylor became the first African-American airline flight attendant in the United States when she joined Mohawk Airlines in 1958. While she is most commonly known for her achievement in the airline industry, she spent much of her career as an activist for minority and women's rights. Taylor was born in Boston, Massachusetts on December 25th, 1931, to Ruth Irene Powell Taylor, a nurse, and William Edison Taylor, a barber. When Ruth was young, her family moved to a farm in upstate New York, and she attended Elmira College in New York, and in 1955 graduated from the Bellevue School of Nursing in New York City as a registered nurse. After working for several years in nursing, Taylor decided to break the color barrier that existed in the career of airline stewardesses. Now called flight attendants, stewardesses at the time were hired primarily based on physical attractiveness and height-weight conformity. There was like a brief show that came on a few years ago. I believe it was called Pan Am. It came on for only one season. That was about like historic flight attendants in like the 40s and 50s. I thought it had Christina Ricci. I thought it was a pretty interesting show, but it didn't get renewed. It talked a lot about sexism and racism and all the isms around that time. I thought it was pretty interesting, but didn't get renewed. Wishing to be the first African-American stewardess, Taylor applied to Trans World Airline, TWA, Rod, but was rejected and subsequently filed a complaint against the company with the New York State Commission on Discrimination. About the same time, the regional carrier Mohawk Airlines expressed interest in hiring minority flight attendants, and Taylor applied for a position. She was selected from 800 Black applicants and was hired in December 1957. On February 11, 1958, she became the first African-American flight attendant on a flight from Ithaca to New York City. Good for her. 3 months later, Margaret Grant was hired amid pressure by TWA as the first African-American flight attendant for a major airline carrier. So even just from like Ruth Carol Taylor just getting hired, shone the spotlight on other major, carriers, like, oh, it can be done, 6 months after making aviation history, Taylor married Rex Legal and was forced to resign from Mohawk Airlines due to restrictions that flight attendants remain single. Right? Because a woman with a husband and a home and a family should be at home, right? That's where she belongs, not flying the motherfucking friendly skies, right? Sexist asses. Before applying to the airlines, Taylor had been engaged, but being a married woman was forbidden by all carriers in the 50s and 60s, and as her wedding day approached, she was forced to resign. Her flying career, although short-lived, had not only changed the aviation industry forever, it had also been a major coup in the fight for Black civil rights in America. The couple lived in the British West Indies and then London, UK, but divorced shortly after the birth of their daughter. Taylor then moved to Barbados, where she founded the country's first professional nursing journal, right? So she also founded the first professional nursing journal in Barbados. Again, as I keep doing these Hidden Figures series, it's like you have these women that didn't do just not one thing or two things or three things. They like did so many things. Like they had hands in all the pots, just like shaking the shit out of the table, right? I love it. Where was I? Where she founded the country's first professional nursing journal and became active in civil rights, reporting on the 1963 March on Washington, as well as becoming an activist for consumer affairs and women's rights. And another thing that's also standing out to me, especially around this era of the 50s and the 60s, is how many Black women were involved in the March on Washington, be it planning, be it reporting, be it speaking, advising. How many, well, not speaking because Black women weren't allowed to speak, but how many Black women had a hand also in the March on Washington, and how we just don't hear about it, right? Hidden figures. Taylor returned to New York in 1977 to resume work as a nurse and co-founded the Institute for Interracial Harmony, which developed a test to measure racist attitudes known as the racism quotient. Like what is that test? What is the name of that test? For when are there two women characters that speak to each other about something besides men and relationships? Y'all know the name of that test. Why can't I think of the name of the damn test? Like that, but for race. Y'all know the name of the test. Leave it in the comments. In 1985, Taylor wrote the Little Black Book, Black Male Survival in America, as a survival guide to help young Black men succeed in a racist society. In 2008, 50 years after her historic flight that broke the color barrier for airline attendants, Taylor's accomplishment was formally recognized by the New York State Assembly. Now using the name Carol Taylor, the activist lives in Brooklyn, New York, and she's still alive. Isn't that awesome? So I also wanted to read this little anecdote, which includes a quote from her that I absolutely love. Speaking to Jet magazine in 1995, Taylor admitted that she had never actually wanted to become a stewardess. She merely did it to break the racial barriers that existed in the industry. And here's the direct quote. It irked me that people were not allowing people of color to apply. Anything like that sets my teeth to grinding. I love that quote. I feel like it's so relatable. I feel like that's how I feel, like this fucking, disrupt, right? Like disrupting shit, fucking causing this chaos, again, shaking the table. Oh, you want to say that I can't fucking apply because I'm Black? Not only am I going to apply just because I fucking feel like it, I'm gonna up in your whole fucking industry because as a Black woman, I have that much fucking power inside of me. Be scared, bitch. I love it. Clearly that's, I put my own little spin on it there towards the end, but I love it. I love it. I love that. I do love it. So, Ruth Carol Taylor, a hidden figure. Last week of the month. Hopefully everyone's having a great week. You guys are really liking my last car video. You guys are leaving lots of comments, engaging, having great conversations. Thank you guys as always for that. Food for thought as always. See you guys on Friday with the Black Friday video. Peace.